played. I don't want to talk too much about the Cowboys. Let's talk Philadelphia. Dallas is awful. Probably the worst team in the league. I think Carolina beats them in a couple of weeks. Philadelphia, in my opinion, has the best roster in the NFL. Now, you don't know some of their defensive players, like Quinion Mitchell. Like the Toledo cornerback, that dude's a baller. Like, you just don't know much about their young players. You know Jalen Carter, very young. He's healthy now. Dean, the linebacker from Georgia. A lot of their defensive players you don't know yet. You may not watch college football, but Philadelphia's offensive talent, you know Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Saquon Barkley. You know Lane Johnson, those kind of players they've had for years. You know them. Defensively, this is becoming a really interesting team, and you don't necessarily know them. I don't think this roster has a hole. In fact, that may be the coach. They draft well. They pay stars. But Kansas City feels a little bit light in terms of offensive talent, and Baltimore and Detroit feel a little light in terms of defensive talent. This team doesn't feel light anywhere. They've got great veterans, great guys in their prime, tremendous young players defensively who are not even in their prime yet. So, I mean, and the other thing they're doing with Jalen Hurts, and this is a real thing, is that, and this is not a criticism, but there's one Mahomes, there's one Josh Allen where you can just say, yeah, sling it 45 times. Jalen Hurts now, they're only asking him to throw 20 times a game. It's not a criticism. Jalen Hurts throwing 20 times a game and running 7 times is excellent. When you're asking him to throw 37 times, it's not as excellent. So I think they've really figured out, you got to give Nick Sirianni credit for this. They've kind of figured out with Jalen Hurts, this is what we want him to be. Let's not ask him to do that. Let's ask him to do this. By the way, that's how you have to manage most quarterbacks in the league. Peyton Manning, you could say, bro, go throw it 48 times. He's one of one. There's just not many guys like that. But I think they found their identity. They know what Jalen is. They're using him effectively, and their talent is both sides, all over the roster. Here's Nick.
Obviously didn't start the way we wanted it to start. But there's something to be said for guys that can rebound and play a really good game after things don't go right early on.
Okay, let's talk about this. I've already attacked the whole argument about asking Jalen Hurts to throw less relative to other quarterbacks. It's every single quarterback, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen included. Go look at the games. Patrick Mahomes has won huge, massive games, whether it be Super Bowls, playoff games, whatever, and they're asking him to throw the ball like 23 times. So stop acting like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are extra in that. It's the formula for all quarterbacks, okay? All quarterbacks. But this game was... Listen, there's no real strong takeaways from this game because I've been so consistent about how bad I think the Dallas Cowboys are. I mean, that's been my most consistent take where people say, like, I'm a hater and this or that, and it's like, okay, whatever. But, like, so I'm not going to be like, this was a big win. Look what the Eagles did, 34-6, right? Having backups in by the fourth quarter. And a lot of Cowboys fans got their wish. You got to see Trey Lance. That looked pretty good, right? He looked pretty good. And again, I'm sure a lot of Cowboys fans got to enjoy that Jalen Hurts got sacked a bunch and turned the ball over, but obviously did not matter. 34-6. 258 total yards, 4 touchdowns. It wasn't obviously even their best game, and yet they demolished this team, right? I mean, that obviously goes without saying, going 84 yards in 84 seconds. At one point you're watching this game and it felt like Jalen Hurts was holding onto the ball a little bit too much, but you could see why, right? Because then he has other plays where he's avoiding the sack, perfect throw to Dallas Goedert, right? He had multiple amazing throws. He had a great scramble throw again to Wilson, right? The 6'6" wide receiver. I mean, like you could see what he was trying to do throughout this entire game. It'll be interesting to see kind of how they clean that up a little bit because you obviously don't want to take, those sacks and obviously fumbles and whatnot. That interception was just a great play by, I think it was Diggs, right? That was honestly just a great play because he was open. And I think it was Romo who highlighted it. It was like he had him and it was just a great defensive play. And when that happens, you just got to shake their hand, honestly. But again, there's not much to learn defensively when you're going up against Cooper Rush and Trey Lance. Like, the one thing that stood out to me more than anything was just the tackling. Now, that has nothing to do with the quarterback. So it's just like the fact how hard this team plays right now is, to me, what I've been saying you need to see from the Eagles. How hard do they play? And that's one of those things where I said that the Eagles had no chance at losing this game, right? Everyone was trying to act like there's a chance. Like Nick Wright, right, was like, hey, there's a chance. And I was like, zero. Because I see how hard the Philadelphia Eagles are playing and how prepared they are now. Because a lot of people called me out and said, this is a divisional game. You have no idea what you're talking about. Of course it could be close. Of course it could be close. Of course they could lose. Don't you know what a trap game is? And it's like, okay, let's settle down here, okay? If Dak Prescott was still playing, that's fair. We're talking about backup quarterbacks. We're talking about a team that is not taking anyone lightly. They've already burned those cards early on in the season, right? They lost to the Falcons. They lost to the Bucks. They already had their wake-up call. They already had their, they're kind of just rolling out of bed and saying, hey, all I do is got to show up and we'll win. They already had that humbling experience. They had all the drama, the chaos, a key drop pass, a bad play call here and there, right? Coach about to be fired any second, yelling at fans, shaving heads. They've already had all that adversity. So they're awake. They're wide awake. They know what they can achieve. They know what they need to do. So no, they're not flying on a plane all the way to Dallas and going to sleepwalk through a game. Okay? They're not. They kind of maybe had that moment to start this game, and then they were like, okay, whew, let's get this. Let's just take care of this already. We got a game on Thursday. We got to win this game. We got to sit everyone. Let's go. And that's what they did, right? I mean, they took care of business. So, right, Hurts was 14 for 20, 10.1 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, a 115 rating, 56 rushing, 2 touchdowns rushing. And yeah, one of those was not a tush push, right? That was a beast of a run. Him just using his legs. AJ, 5 receptions for 109 yards. But I loved Hurts hit 9 different receivers. I always love that when you really can kind of spread the ball around, get a lot of people involved, not just rely on just Devontae and AJ and such. And then it was really funny because I'm pretty sure there was a tush push touchdown, if memory serves me correctly. And also, if memory serves me correctly, there was some panic. People were saying, oh, the tush push is no longer as good. And Nick Wright and Brew and Greg Jennings, they had a whole segment about it on First Things First. It was a whole segment, a literal segment about what are the Eagles going to do. This is a big issue. It's no longer unstoppable. And I was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And yet the Eagles got it. They're acting like it's been exposed, that they can no longer use it, that it's done, that the Eagles don't have trust in it. And Jalen Hurts, it was easy. It was easy. So it's just funny how quick people are to hit the panic button. Cooler heads so rarely prevail when we're talking about media and fans. It's just everybody just wants to rush to conclusions. But I think it's great. I mean, listen, I agree with Colin. This is the best roster, right? Is this the best team? That's the more interesting question, of course, right? I think if this team had the history of success, right? Let's say they won the Super Bowl in 22 rather than losing, or at the very least, let's just say last year, 23, the season didn't end the way it did, then people would probably have more confidence in this team. Let's say they went to the NFC Championship game and lost last year rather than getting rocked by the Buccaneers. I think people would have more faith in this team. But they lost in 22, obviously, and then they get rocked in 23. And now the season starts the way how it did here, right? They win a close game against the Packers, right? They drop to the Falcons. They get rocked by the Bucks. And again, I've explained all those losses, right? I've defended them and explained them and talked about coordinating and injuries and everything, right? I was one of the only people that wasn't piling on them and ripping them left and right. But my point is I get why there is that hesitation to be like, I don't know. Because the Lions had a questionable loss, right? Losing to the Bucks as well, right? I mean, they eked out a win against the Rams week 1. Now they obviously look significantly different and significantly better. So do the Philadelphia Eagles, right? So it's just interesting. I think the Eagles are a top team, but you're not going to say without a doubt, oh yeah, NFC Championship game, Eagles versus Lions, Eagles got this. It would be a brutal game. It would be honestly an amazing game, but it was not. It's there's nothing predictable right now in the NFL. Nothing predictable. If the Ravens played the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, I am not going to confidently say one team is going to beat the other. I'm just not. At this point, I'm just not. Same thing with the Lions and the Eagles. The Eagles versus the Packers, right? Anyone who can say anything with a degree of confidence, just go ask Chicago Bears fan how confident they were that they were making the playoffs and that they were going to, get to at least the NFC Championship game. That was a wildly confident fan base. A wildly confident fan base. Ask them how they feel today. Go ask Dallas Cowboys fans at the beginning of the season when they beat the Browns. I said, guys, the Cowboys are not that good of a team. This is not that impressive of a win. You guys got to settle down. And they ripped me. Right? Week 1 was an introduction to a lot of new subscribers and viewers. And they were like, you are just a hater. You're a hater. You're a hater. The Browns are this great team. Well, are the Browns a great team? No, they're not. Are the Cowboys a great team? No, they are not. And then again, people wanted to say, oh, well, the injuries and wait until Micah comes back. Well, Micah came back and the Eagles still put up 34. And it would have been more, obviously, if they actually played in the fourth quarter and actually tried to score touchdowns more. So, again, anyone who has a high level of confidence about what's going to happen this season, I really encourage you to check that, quite frankly, right? I really, really do. But I think the Philadelphia Eagles are without a top team. Where they exactly land, I don't know. The question is, does Philly have the talent to win it all? Absolutely. Undeniably. They had the talent to win it all in 22 and 23. Just because they didn't win doesn't mean that they weren't good enough to win, right? The best team doesn't always win. It's just that's just sports, right? That's why they always say, may the best man win, because the best man doesn't always win. If the best man always won, they wouldn't have to say that. That saying wouldn't exist, right? So can the Eagles keep this together? They obviously are. This is obviously a big win. I'm excited to see what they do now on Thursday. That is going to be a big test for me. 1, Jayden Daniels is a great quarterback, without a doubt. 2, Dan Quinn knows the Eagles' offense, right? He knows that offense very well. He knows Jalen Hurts, right? Obviously the coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. He knows them, right? So you're gonna face a well-prepared defense led by a coach who's going to intimately understand who the Eagles are, right? It's a short turnaround, obviously. They just came off of a easy dominant win in Dallas. Let's see how prepared they show up on Thursday. Again, it's a really important game. They also had to travel to Dallas. Now they have to travel back here, right? Washington didn't have to do that. They pretty much have to go nowhere, right? A few hour drive or whatever. So that's going to be a really interesting game for me, because I want to see, can the Eagles just impose their will? Can Vic Fangio treat Jayden Daniels like a rookie quarterback, right? Can he be made to feel uncomfortable throughout the entire game? Can Jalen Hurts and that Philadelphia Eagles offense just be like, yeah, we know Dan Quinn. We know him. And guess what? We got Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore knows how to expose what Dan Quinn wants to do. So let's go. Bring it on. Bring it on. 2 ex-Cowboys coordinators, offense, defense, going head-to-head. Bring it on. Let's go. Let's see what you got. So I'm really excited for that game. To me, that usually I'm really excited for the Eagles-Cowboys, because that's usually a pretty exciting game. This is, the Cowboys are such a mess. It's like, well, again, who cares? The Commanders are actually competent. So now it's Eagles-Commanders, right? And it seems like it's going to be Eagles-Commanders for the next few years, where it's like, that's going to be the game to watch for the NFC East. And it used to be, again, the Eagles-Cowboys, but now it's like, they're such a mess. It's hard to see that they're going to right this ship within the next couple of years. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles? Do you think they have the talent to win it all? Do you think they can win it all? Where would you put them in terms of, top team ranking? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.